Welcome to another onboarding video for Codingville. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the project section. And so right now, I'm in the journey coding using blocks in the project section, where the little puzzle piece indicates that adventure. Now, in this project section, you have a tutorial of what's to come, and then you have 3 levels of projects to build out. You have a beginner, intermediate, and advanced. I'm going to pop into the beginner and take you through what the project looks like for this journey. Over here on the right, it shows you a step-by-step tutorial of what you're building out, what game you're creating. And so each step takes you through what code you should be adding into your code editor right here. And over here on the left, you can see the different code blocks that you can use. Now, you might notice that they are named differently than the code blocks that you used in the adventures. That's because these code blocks are now associated with the gaming language of what a gaming programmer would be using. So it ties in that real world aspect. In the level editor, this is where you can see how the game is being built out. Right now we have barriers. We can add or delete. We can change the color of our game board or the grid size of it. We can also add in different elements, a crown, flag, or trophy, collectibles, or create that barrier or the damage key here. All you have to do is click what you want and then what cell you want it to be on in your game board. So over here, I'm introduced to the project. And so I will be creating a game that lets the robot move the joystick and avoid the traps until he reaches the ring. So this just highlights the summary of the game that I'm going to be building out. And then I continue to add in different elements. So right here, we're going to start building the game environment. So I'd be going into my level editor, and it wants me to add a ring as the purpose. I'm going to highlight that and then select the cell that I want it to go to. And I'm just following the instructions that are provided on the side here. And my game board looks correct, so I'm going to move on to the next instruction. So now that my game is set up, I'm going to go into my logic editor and start working in the code and figuring out the movements of what's going to happen. So in this tutorial, I'm already pre-set up a little bit here with some code blocks. Now I'm going to go through a step-by-step of what I need to add. So it says I need to slide right, and then I need to add some action for my joystick to slide left. I'm going to continue down, and joystick is going to add a step forward for going up, and a step backwards for the joystick being pressed down. So now that I have that initial code in, I need to add a little bit more code as well as far as my win conditions of when I get to that ring, what happens with my game. So I'm going to scroll through here to find out my next steps. And again, I have a preset provided block here. I'm just going to add some actions into that. And I'm going to go into the looks and remove the object code block. And then I have to go into the gameplay to set my rule that the code's going to say once I remove the object, the game's complete when I collect the ring. And then when also robot collides with the traps that I've set, I'm going to also have to set up gameplay of game over. So now that my code is set in and I've created the design of my level, I'm going to test it out. So I see my joystick here, I see my ring here, and then some of those barriers that are in my design. So I'm just going to check out the functions of the code that I set, make sure it's all working. Looks good so far. Gonna go back, forward, and I get the ring. And my message and my game completion comes up saying I won. So now I'm just going to test out if I hit a barrier, and my game over code works as well. So this again is the beginner level of a project, and it just takes you through step by step of what you should be doing in your project. Again, as a teacher, you have the option of show model answer, and then your option to save the game as well. Now, if I go into my projects tab, here is where you can create projects in an open editor, either create a game or an app. We're going to jump into game first and see what this looks like. And as you can see here, there's no tutorials, and you only are started with one block of code to get you going, but you have all of the same features as you saw from the game tutorials in the journey itself, but this is open and allows you to really bring in your creativity and create a game of your own. Now, if I go back, let's look at what the app looks like. Now, this looks very different. It's connected to text-based coding rather than block in the languages of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You would enter your code over here and then have your output displayed here. So this connects with the Journey Junior App Developer, where you're really utilizing real-world coding and the text-based language. So I'm just going to show you an example of some code that you would put in and run to see what my app is starting to look like. Now let's pop back to our projects tab, and I just want to highlight some of the benefits of the projects in general. Now this is a really fun aspect of Codingville that allows the students to really explore their understanding and apply it to the real world. These projects help to apply the basic skills and that mindset that was learned in the missions that students have previously played. And then following the instructions in the game tutorials give you insight into how programming translates into game building. And then, of course, progressively working through the missions in the Journey Junior App Development provide insights into building apps, of course. So I hope this was helpful and gave you a little bit of insight into what the project sections entail and how you could utilize them with your students. It's really awesome creative space for them. And if you have any questions, again, please feel free to reach out to us at info@Codingville.ca, and we'd be happy to help out.